A man who recklessly gave a woman HIV has been jailed nearly 14 years after he was deported from the United Kingdom, police says. Jermaine Scott, 39 years old, was sentenced to 3 years in a hearing at Chester Crown Court on Tuesday after pleading guilty to grievous bodily harm and a charge used in STI transmission cases. Scott, from Jamaica, was diagnosed with HIV in 2005 and had been prescribed medication that, if taken, would have limited the risk of transmission to others. So they're making it known that if he was taking his medication, he would have been undetectable and he wouldn't have been able to give anyone HIV. He and the victim had previously been in a relationship which they rekindled in the summer of 2009. At the time, Scott was taking his tablets regularly. He did not tell the victim about his diagnosis and went on to have unprotected sex with her. She became suspicious of his behavior, and in October of 2009, the pair attended a sexual health clinic. While at the clinic, Scott provided a false name and false medical details to the health worker. This right here is, to me, a very reactive behavior, because if you are going to have sex with someone, you need to know their status. And even if you were with them previously, they may have had other partners in between you and them breaking up. I remember one time I asked someone for a 7-panel blood test. We were talking at the time, a long time ago, and they said no, and I realized that relationship was never going to go anywhere further than that. I ended it immediately once they said they wouldn't do the test. The victim subsequently tested positive for HIV and the pair ended their relationship. Following their split, Scott left the Cheshire area. The incident was reported to Cheshire Constabulary in 2009 October, and an investigation was launched to find Scott, leading to his arrest in February of 2011. Scott refused to answer any questions from the police, and the officers closed the case after failing to gather sufficient evidence to charge him in relation to the incident. He was subsequently deported in November of 2011 after he was found to be in the UK illegally. Shortly after Scott's deportation, the victim asked the case to be reopened. Detective sought help from a number of medical experts who revealed that it was highly likely that the victim had been infected with HIV in the 3 months prior to her diagnosis, while she was in a relationship with Scott. They also identify a number of genetic links between the strain of HIV the pair were both infected with. And thank God for the advancement of science, because human beings are very much not trustworthy. So the fact that they can use genetic markers to find out the strain of HIV and tell that he was the one that gave it to her is amazing, because people lie all the time. Whether that be HIV or STIs or STDs, they lie all the time. So the fact that science have gone so far to actually link genetic markers to tell who the person is that gave the other person a STD, STI, or HIV, I'm glad we're advancing in science in these aspects. In 2019, the additional evidence was presented to the CPS, who agreed to charge Scott with In 2019, additional evidence was presented to the CPS, who agreed to charge Scott with grievous bodily harm, Section 20 assault, in February of 2020. In November of 2022, Scott was extradited to the UK to be charged. Very rarely do you see people extradited from Jamaica to the UK to be charged for crimes. The fact that they went to Jamaica to get him, they shows that they do not play when it comes on to stuff like this. And they're probably trying to set a precedent, trying to set an example of things that they won't tolerate in their country. And I cannot blame them for that. Following the sentencings, Detective Sergeant Emma Myers, who led the investigation, said, "It has taken more than 12 years to reach to this point, and having supported the victim throughout the investigation, I have seen firsthand the pain and suffering that she has endured, both physically and psychologically. She will now live the rest of her life forever marred by the actions of Scott. There is no cure, and she will now have to take medication for the rest of her life. Scott's actions have also affected her relationship with others, and she no longer trusts men. While no sentence will ever be enough, I do hope that the fact that Scott is now behind bars, has been held accountable, will provide her with some closure." And he was sentenced, and it says, "A Jamaican man has been sentenced to 3 years imprisonment in the United Kingdom for knowingly infected a woman with HIV." And I myself do not feel like 3 years is enough for what he did. And if he did this to her, I can bet 9 times out of 10 he did that to somebody before her. And the fact that he was deported to Jamaica tells me that he probably gave someone in Jamaica HIV also. So this video is going to be a warning to anybody that have seen him, known him, or was in a relationship with him prior to 2005 or after he was deported in 2011 to Jamaica, that this man was knowingly spreading HIV around to people. Not telling people your status when you know you are HIV positive is a criminal act in a lot of the world. So the fact that he didn't disclose that and tell her and make her protect herself or try to protect her, then you need to go to jail. And 3 years after, this woman is going to have to take HIV medications for the rest of her life is not quite enough for me. Like this, you deserve to rot in jail because you are a horrible human being. But with that being said, I'm going to end this video here. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.